everybody. The 49ers fell into last place in the NFC West with their 28-21 loss to the Seattle Seahawks at Levi Stadium on Sunday. San Francisco had a number of opportunities to bury Seattle in the first half, but an interception and missed field goal would keep the Seahawks in the game until Russell Wilson could get his feet underneath them. When Seattle took possession of the ball with 4 minutes and 48 seconds left in the first half, the 49ers gained 209 yards of total offense to minus 12 yards for the Seahawks. And San Francisco lead was only 7-0. On their second to last possession of the half, Seattle's offense would find the spark they were missing in running back Alex Collins. Wilson would open the drive by finding Collins alone down the left sideline for a 28-yard completion. Collins would then net 9 yards rushing in the next two plays before Wilson would find DK Metcalf down the left side for another 28-yard gain. 2 plays later, Wilson would once again hit Metcalf on a short pass, this time for a 12-yard touchdown, and the complexion of the game would completely change. As the 49ers took the field to start the second half, it was rookie quarterback Trey Lance, not Jimmy Garoppolo, leading them onto the field. After a quick four-play series with only running plays, which led to a punt, Lance would get the opportunity to throw his first pass of the game on the next possession. On first down, Lance would fake the handoff and roll to his right, and with George Kittle wide open, the rookie would throw the ball at the feet of the tight end for an incompletion. 2 plays later, on third down, Lance would throw the ball over the head of Deebo Samuel to end the possession. It was a rough going in the beginning for Lance. He would struggle. His first 7 passes, he only complete 2 of them for 87 yards, but one of them was a big 76-yard touchdown pass. Eventually, though, he'd be able to put it together, and he'd lead the 49ers on a 13-play, 80-yard touchdown drive on their final possession of the game. Lance would cap that possession off by finding Deebo Samuel for an 8-yard touchdown. While this drive had little bearing on the outcome of the game, it provided valuable snaps for Lance, who will move into the starting role with Garoppolo sidelined for the next 2 weeks, including next week's contest in Arizona. Let's take a look at the answers to the burning questions that I asked on Friday to see how this game got away from the 49ers. Number 1, can the 49ers defense contain Russell Wilson? That's a big no. San Francisco's defense did a pretty good job on Wilson in the first half, including 3 sacks on consecutive drives on third down that would end them. But as usually the case with Wilson, he would get going, and especially in the third quarter, at the end of that half and in the third quarter, he'd really take off. On Seattle's first play of the second half, Wilson would scramble to his right for a gain of 12, and while that possession would end up in a punt, Wilson would continue to make plays on the following drive. On 2nd and 8 from the 49ers 16-yard line, Eric Armstead would get too far inside, and Wilson would take off to his left for a touchdown to put the Seahawks up 14-7. Number 2, can the 49ers run defense step up? No. Well, San Francisco did a very good job on Chris Carson, holding Seattle starting running back to only 2.4 yards per rushing attempt. They really struggled with Alex Collins when he was brought in. Collins' first touch of the game, as I mentioned earlier, was a 28-yard reception, and he appeared to be playing at a much higher pace than Carson, averaging 4.4 yards per attempt, including a 14-yard run to put Seattle up 28-13 early in the fourth quarter. Number 3, will the San Francisco secondary be able to corral Seattle's passing attack? Once again, that's a no. As with everything else in this game, the San Francisco secondary held up pretty well until late in the first half. DK Metcalf would be held to 4 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown, but his 28-yard reception from Wilson late in the first half played a pivotal role in turning the game around for the Seattle offense. Meanwhile, Metcalf's counterpart Tyler Lockett would be held to only 24 yards on 4 receptions, with a long of 19 yards. Lockett had dealt with a hip injury during the week, and it seemed to slow him down for most of this game. Freddie Swain would get in on the action in this game as well. The Seahawks' number 3 receiver for this game, Swain would haul in a 13-yard Wilson touchdown pass after the Seahawks quarterback was able to escape the grasp of a 49ers defender. Number 4, will Jimmy Garoppolo be able to carry the 49ers offense? No. Early on, it looked like Garoppolo would be up to the task as he hit on all 6 of his attempts for 70 yards on the 49ers' first possession of the game, including a 21-yard touchdown throw to Ross Dwelly. That success, though, of that first possession was short-lived as Garoppolo could only manage to go 8 of 17 for 95 yards with an interception for the remainder of the first half. Garoppolo would leave the game after the half with a calf injury. And according to Garoppolo, the injury occurred at some point during the 49ers' first possession of the game. Perhaps that had something to do with the fall-off in his play, But as you know, at this point, the injury issue with Garoppolo is just part of who he is. And number 5, can the 49ers score more than 7 points in the first half? Again, no. The San Francisco offense put up 209 yards in the first half, and for the third week in a row, they could only manage a single touchdown. Unlike the previous 2 weeks, though, the 49ers offense didn't look completely inept through the early portion of the game. That first series they'd go right down the field on a 71-yard touchdown drive. But then after that, a Garoppolo interception would end the next possession. Then they'd put together a nice 68-yard drive on their third possession, which would stall out the Seahawks 23. But unfortunately, the 49ers would come out empty-handed with kicker Robbie Gould out due to a groin injury. Punter Mitch Wishnowsky would be called upon to attempt a 41-yard field goal, but he'd miss it wide to the left. From that point on, the offense would stall for the majority of the game, as Seattle would open up a two-touchdown lead, which San Francisco would not be able to overcome. And then as for my prediction, I had said coming into this game that the Seahawks would win 27-24. I was close on the Seahawks score. I was off by 1. The 49ers came up a little short on what I was expecting them to do offensively, only coming in with 21 points. Real quick, a couple of notes over in the on the side. It says Brian Jones says, need more Trey. He should have gotten reps with starters since the beginning, at least split them with Jimmy. His stats are with only a handful of reps with starters. I disagree with that, and here's why I disagree with it. Lance had a number of snaps with the starting, especially the starting receivers and tight ends and the skill position players throughout training camp. It wasn't like he just barely got a few reps with these guys during the game today. He also played with the starters just as much as Garoppolo did. Or I shouldn't say as much as Garoppolo, but the same starting guys that Garoppolo played with during the preseason period. So they had reps together, and he's been getting reps all along. For the most part, though, Lance is who he is. He's a rookie who, quite frankly, practiced the way, throughout training camp, the way that you saw him today. He's a guy that's going to come in, he's going to make some big splash plays, but at the same time, he's going to lack the ability to hit consistently down the field. I know his stats at the end of the game look good, but you have to remember, a lot of that came in the final possession of the game. The game was already well in hand for Seattle. 49ers were down by 15 points. Seattle's, not playing the same way that they were playing for the first 3 quarters of the game. Put that into perspective, what Lance did in the fourth quarter. You got to remember, Nick Mullins went up in Seattle in the first matchup between the 49ers and the Seahawks last year, put up 238 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Seattle defense. So if you're really excited about what Lance did today, I would just go ahead and point you back towards what Mullins did in garbage time up in Seattle as well. And then Luke says, hope Trent's shoulder's okay, along with all the other players that got hurt. That one's for sure. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there with Trent Williams. They said Kyle Shanahan mentioned that it was a shoulder when the injury first occurred. It was reported that it was a elbow injury. So it's definitely something to do with his left side, either his arm or shoulder. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see, what else have we got over here? And that looks like about it for today. Definitely going to have a good time here. The 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo, he will be out for, according to Garoppolo, a couple of weeks. So we're going to be seeing Trey Lance start at least next week in Arizona in the bye week, and then the 49ers will be back home to take on the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday Night Football for their next home game. We'll see who the starting quarterback is at that point, but the injury to Garoppolo definitely looks like it's an injury and not something that the 49ers were playing around with there. He definitely had his walk was definitely different than what it would normally be, and he seemed to be emotional at the podium when asked about the injury and if it would be something that might take him out for the rest of the season. So just want to go ahead and say thank you to everybody that tuned in tonight. Definitely we'll be back tomorrow night with So Real Sunil on his channel for a look at for a kind of a review of the game. I'll be on my own channel on Tuesday for Niner Chatter Tuesday night, and then I'll also be on with Grant Cohn. I'm not sure which day we'll have it. It's either going to be Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll be able to do our film breakdown over there. The only thing there just depends on when we get the film, whether that's going to be on Tuesday or Wednesday. So just keep tuned to everything. If you follow my Twitter account, I'll definitely be updating that there. And when the shows come up live on my channel, I'll let you know as well. So if you can click the like button, subscribe, comment, all those fun things, I really appreciate it. Hopefully the 49ers can get back on the winning side here next week against Arizona, a really good Arizona team that just went into Los Angeles and took care of the Rams. So it's definitely going to be a tough contest, and it should be interesting to watch Trey Lance get his first NFL start next week. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll be back at you soon.